we are now on the recording mode. So most likely you can open this, even though you are absent, you can still open this one asynchronously. Because if you cannot join in a synchronous class, I can post this one in our Google group, or for no, sorry, Facebook group, and probably you can open it up there and you can review what we are doing in our class today if you are not present, or if you have classmates that were not able to attend the class today. So tell them that to join in our closed group, in our Facebook group, so that they can access these recordings. Okay, how are you today? I think it's quite somehow there's a low pressure, so most likely I'm going to have a class on good only for 1 hour today, because I still have to go to the campus, because I'm going to present uh, the institutional outcomes of the university. So most likely I have the scheduled time at 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock this morning with the Marina people present in our university. So this is my schedule. So let me go first directly on the pre-activity, the worksheets. I think thank you for those who were able to answer those activity. I probably after 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I would like to ask Mr. Obal to present the one that I am asking in the pre-activity. I will make you a co-host uh, in this Zoom meeting, so that you can also uh, share your screen. Is Sir Obal present now? Is here, Sir Jerome Obal. You are now a co-host in this webinar or this Zoom meeting. Then probably you can you can share your screen later after I'm going to give you the signal. I'm sorry for this noise outside in our house, because there's a shop outside. So most likely, bear with me with these interruptions and this sound effects that's happening within my surrounding my environment. Okay. Then let me go directly on your pre-activity, so that you can have a clear picture of what uh, we are trying to emphasize in that pre-activity. Okay, here I think it's just a matter of checking this up. Uh, which one do you prefer? It's information versus knowledge. Uh, if you deal in information, information is just simply data that happens outside the brain of a person. It could be the information is stored. It can be stored anywhere outside the brain of a human being. It can be stored in a in a cave. It can be stored in a museum. It can be stored in a library, and it can be stored in a computer. It can be stored uh, recently. It can be stored in your cell phone, and even it can be stored in, I think it can be stored in a in a cloud. Have you heard about the cloud technology today? That somehow your data is being saved in the cloud. Like for example, the Google site that we are having it now, the data that I am having in the Google site really are saved in the cloud. It means it's not the cloud that you are thinking literally, but it's a file on the net, on a network, somehow not in your computer but in a network. So that's the thing. So, however, knowledge is something that is stored in the mind of human being. So if you try to check on these things, which one do you prefer? That's something that I cannot tell that you have to go for information. I cannot tell that you have to go for knowledge at this point of time because I want you to discover it as you go along in designing in our course. Is learning and have learned. Is learning is means uh, that there's somebody that teaching you how to learn, what to learn rather. Sorry. Is learning is teaching you what to learn and even how to learn. Okay. The what and the how of learning matters in this context.
Uy, sapa pa rin nagdaan.
Okay. The what and the how of learning matters in this context because in is learning, the what and the how of learning is used by somebody uh, so that there is a change in behavior. The concept and the philosophy here is more on behaviorism, but in the context of have learned, it means is is the what of learning could be defined by the teacher, but the how of learning could be defined by the learners because the learners have the freedom to choose or to have their own learning paths on how to learn the content. Okay, that's in the level of andragogy. While there are also some contexts this time that the what and the how of learning resides not on the teacher, but the teacher serves as only a facilitator of learning, and the students can define their own content, can determine their own content. That the students can determine their own content. The students can determine or can select their own strategies on how to learn and what to learn. So the what and the how is really determined by the teacher. So it's something that he or she have learned in the or has learned in the process of learning. So in this case, have learned is more on the context of constructivism and in the context of connectivism. If you have heard connectivism, that's a new term that we are using today. The new philosophy that we are trying to use today. I really anchored with the the tag the hashtag of the university is a wave of worthiness. I tried to deconstruct that one uh, uh, last this morning. I started 10 o'clock in 9 o'clock in the morning and I stopped at around 2:30 in the morning. I tried to deconstruct it uh, here because that's my presentation. That's my presentation today for the Marina auditors. So I will later I will going to share it to you once Marina people will going to maybe next week I will share it to you. Uh, what are these things that I'm talking right now? What transpired in this Marina engagement that will be happening at 9 to 12 o'clock this morning, and my presentation with them. I'm not going to make my presentation uh, somehow half baked if uh, if uh, it will not be presented to a body or a panel of intellectuals or a panel of regulators like Marina and Shed who will try to scrutinize such information. So maybe next week I can share these things to you. Uh, Objectives and outcomes. Objectives is different from outcomes. Objectives is what the teacher wants for the students. Outcomes is uh, what the students do in the after taking a particular class. Sage on the stage, guide on the side. Sage on the stage, there's a study of King. The I think there's it turns out to be the principles of learner centered. That stage on the stage, you are the one on the teacher lecturing on the stage on the class, and the guide on the side is just simply facilitating learning. However, it might be good that also you are the space on you are the ace on the space like this one. What I'm doing now, I'm the sage on the stage, and uh, I'm not a guide on the side. So most likely, what could be good is I will be the ace on the space. The space, it's the space that I'm talking is about the internet. Uh, a pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy is more on the child-centered learning. Child-centered learning means the what and the how of learning is designed by the teacher. Andragogy is more on adult learning, the same thing that what you are doing right now. I only design the outcome. You can I just simply share just simply share content. You can select your own content, and you have your own freedom to how to strategize it into how you are going to achieve the outcome. So most likely this one is the how of learning is resides on the the students. The what of learning is given by the teacher. Whereas in pedagogy, both the what and the how of learning is designed by the teacher. The concept of teacher-centered and learner-centered are the two dichotomous end of uh, uh, shifting our paradigm about learning. Uh, because before, if you talk about teacher-centered, it means that the what and the how of learning is
Mga
really reside on the lecturer, the teacher, as the source of knowledge. Whereas in the
ay ako din.
learner-centered concept is you allow learner to decide and create meaning of what they have learned. So these are the two different paradigm this time. Is the shifting of paradigm from teaching to learning paradigm. So think of yourself of how you design the course if you are a teacher centered or you are a learner centered. So instructional designer and learning experience designer. Instructional designer, it means that you design instruction, you provide instruction, you you are the one who designed the learning materials for students, but somehow is that design really provide experience to students in that particular learning process. So different thing with learning experience because what you are doing here is not to design instruction. You are not going to tell students what to do, but you provide students learning experience. So here instructional design is you are giving instruction on what the students will be able to do or what they are going to do. Whereas in a learning experience, you provide an environment that they can experience learning.
Hindi
So,
ko mabasa.
okay. Can you hear? Is there any problem with my voice? Something that you can still hear with my voice? Is it okay with you?
Okay ra sir, okay ra.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you. Let's go to giver of information and converter of information to knowledge. This one is a more radical change that I'm really emphasizing here, because most likely in an environment, especially in a child-centered environment where there's behaviorism, that the philosophy of behaviorism is really uh, uh, is emphasized. Uh, Teachers are just simply providing information to students. It seems like we feel like learners is an empty glass. So we provide students information so that the brain of that students uh, will be somehow filled with information. But is it the thing that we are really doing, or are we converter of information to knowledge? Are we providing information and process it so that the moment you process information, students can respond to you and can just translate it into particular action? This one I called it infrastructure. I'm going to have this uh, discussion later. I'm going to give that PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to give later this morning to discuss in this converter of information to knowledge, because information is everywhere at this point of time. Not the same thing when I was as grade one or grade two or elementary pupil before that. if I'm going to ask something, I'm going to search on something, I cannot search it in my own house. I have to go to a library to find that book so that I can get that information. But today, the information is everywhere. It's in your pocket. It's in your cell phone. It's in your computer, in your laptop, in your computer desktop, or even in the cloud. So at this point of time, information is everywhere. That somehow, uh, what we are going to do as teachers is just to process this information so that provide this information to the learner, so that learner could have a good experience in uh, their learning process. So flexibility and adaptability. Flexibility is when you use various technology, various mode, uh, not just simply face to face. You may use blended. You may use open and distance learning, and even you may use a massive open online platform. So they called it the MOOC, the MOOC. Then, however, no matter how you use these things, but if you as a teacher cannot adapt it, the same thing with your students, that environment or that technology, or they called it, we're gonna go for blended learning because it's gonna be more flexible. Uh, I don't think so because it needs adaptability to to be to be to be more participative and engaging in this new learning and educational ecosystem. So somehow I called it ecosystem because the term here is adaptability. Uh, it's not because you have the technology, but if you cannot adapt the technology, there's no sense at all on that flexibility. So we are now trying to work into flexibility, but we don't consider adaptability. So most of us still hang ups with our module because I think we go back to the basic one because before module was not was just somehow was not being taking uh, importance of how to use this module, but this time it turns out to be important. It turns out to be essential, and we try to what happened to the ed these times and what happened to the higher education. They tried to have these most essential learning competencies. That's MELCs in deep ed, and in higher education also they try to also try to adapt these things into most essential learning outcomes, the melos, the melks and the melos. So these are the things that we have to consider because they try to adapt. Pwede raman di ay ang curriculum pagamyan ibanan. Oh, yaho man nahitabo man day gihapon karon. Uh, but I don't know in the level of assessment and measurement later of the outcomes of students in the years after we implement this what we call flexible learning. So what is important, not just simply in designing, not just simply you adapt flexibility, but also you consider adaptability of the system. No matter how sophisticated your system is, but if your teacher and students cannot adapt it, so what's the use of that blended learning environment? What's the use of uh, that uh, distance learning, as we called it? So content versus I have to go back with adaptability. I have to go back to deal with the module because most of us are using module in our system today. Uh, say for example, module using module, and you have to give that module to a particular student or students. However, the people in that particular the people surrounding that learner are illiterate. Their parents do not have proper education. They don't even have education at all. So who will be the one assisting and uh, facilitating the learning of the the student? So probably if we have that hashtag that no one is left behind, uh, and this one is a this hashtag has been used by UNESCO, and even until this point of time. But somehow, in a particular situation that there are parents that are illiterate, there are uh, uh, guardians that do not even have educational formal education. How can they adapt the module system, and who will be assisting and facilitating the learning of students? Most likely, some teachers would say that we're going to have the homeschool visitation, uh, the home visitation of these learners, but somehow it's not a regular visitation. So again, it's flexibility versus adaptability could be a good issue in designing your course. Content versus function of content. Most of us is really trying to design courses because we are really after for content, or we are really after for the inputs. You try to read a book and you try to look into the table of contents. You try to select the content there based on that book, and you provide objectives on that book. Whereas if you are really after for outcomes, it means you just not simply rely on a particular book. You use content, you may use content, or you may determine the function of content in order to achieve outcome. The content could be not only in a particular book, but it could be on an research article. It could be on different. It could be in a form of interview. It could be in a form of engagement. It could be in a form of proceedings. So you are going to use content, the function of content, in order to achieve outcome. The content, if you just simply look into the content, somehow, if you try the principle of cover all, teacher try to cover everything. So that's the thing that's happening in the in the in the system that we are doing right now. Even in deep ed, they try to check in your content. You are really after for the content because you think that students will be evaluated, will be assessed, and they are scored. If they have low scored, so therefore you are not teaching. So that's the irony there of teaching versus learning. So what is important then? Is it teaching or is it learning? So it depends. The answer is quite a chicken egg uh, question, but somehow it redound to the way how you design your courses. The courses that I mean is your subject. Most likely, most of us are trying to adhere also the 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 design of the experts. Experts try to look into the content, but they don't like to look into the function of content and the contextualization of the content to that particular learner. Because as we all know, we have diverse learners in our class. We can have the Susan and Robert story later about this diversity, but not this time. But what is important is uh, think of yourself that are you really after for the content? Are you in the cover all principle, or are you really finding finding the right content in order to achieve the outcome? So that's a good question that you have to ask yourself. So teacher made assessment versus third party assessment. Normally, we don't we as a teacher we feel that I will be the one giving assessment to student because somehow I am the one teaching them and I am the one that only knew uh, what to assess on their learning. But I think we have to change our paradigm this time. We have to change that it's better to ask our stakeholders on uh, assessing our students, in assessing the learning of our students, because the who are our stakeholders. It could be the community, it could be the association, it could be a group of teachers in your school that will conduct, or you call it assessors in your schools that will conduct the assessment of student, not you as a teacher making that assessment to your students, because somehow it's self-serving if you are the one making this teacher made assessment. Try to take a look. If you deal on mathematics, mathematics is a teacher made test in our present concept. However, we are being assessed in terms of the themes in the higher in the this the TIMMS na international assessment for mathematics. So it's not us who will determine that your students are learning. If you try to look at mobility at this point of time, uh, if your students will transfer to other university, you are not the one assessing the student, that the students will be in that particular level of learning or competencies. So most likely a third party will be the one to assess these things. So this one is a radical change in terms of assessment, because this is not quite common to everyone about teacher-made assessment versus third-party assessment. Now, what is common to us is the teacher-made assessment, but the third-party assessment is not common to us. I don't know in your school if you have uh, a, a group of teachers who are called assessors in your school. So in BIPSO, only only uh, some schools. I think maritime, if you are going to open, only the maritime schools have this third-party assessors, the internal third-party assessors. It means that there are group of teachers in the maritime who will assess students on a particular course. So it's not anymore the teacher will be assessing the uh, the students. Paper pencil test versus performance-based tasks. So these are the most common one. We usually have the multiple choice test, open-ended questions. But what is being important this time is what the students will be able to do. So performance-based tasks is essential. This time, it's not in designing your course, it's not on the level of you are going to ask your student, what is the answer, Johnny? Give me the answer, Johnny. Show me the answer, Johnny. Present to me the answer, Johnny. But it's more on how do we find the answer, Johnny. Try to take a look. There's a how do we. There's a we. So because information is everywhere, you are going to help students find the answer. Before, you are going to hide the answer. But today, we are going to find the answer together with our students, together with the learners. Do not maybe it's also do not try to take this one literally, but in practical sense, uh, it's also it's also good that you are going to you are going to suspend presenting the answer, but you by giving feedback to students, please provide the answer after they have answered the activity. Na kay multiple choice test, after you conducted the multiple choice test, please do not please provide feedback on the progress of students. Give them feedback on how far they have learned on that particular activity. So consider not only teaching time, but consider also learning time. Because most of us, when we design courses, we only consider our how we are going to teach the lesson, but we don't consider the part of the students on how fast or how slow they will learn on that particular lesson. Synchronous and asynchronous, synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is this one is when the teacher is presenting things. Um, the topics are there in a particular class. Students can make feedback out of it. Asynchronous is when students are trying to access information. The same thing as what I have done. I posted in our Facebook account, so Facebook group. So therefore, you can take examination, you can hear lectures, not uh, not 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 in the presence of the teacher, but somehow here synchronous and asynchronous, the only problem here is feedback, because in synchronous it's on time, the on time feedback. Asynchronous, there could be feedback, it depends upon the system being used. Like for example, in our Google group, if you post a question there, I can answer it to you. So that's the thing that I can do at this point of time. with respect to the lack of systems in the university in terms of learning management system. Passive learning versus active learning. You want the teacher is just simply the one talking and the students are listening. Active learning, uh, it's somehow active learning is not only the interaction between teacher and student, but it's the how learner to content, learner to learner, and learner to teacher. So what I'm doing in our class today, it sounds we are quite active in our activity because first I provide the content. You are going to read the content. So there's a learner content engagement. Then there's a learner to learner interaction or collaboration. It's a learner to learner collaboration. So ganina, learner to content engagement. There's another thing is a learner to learner to learner collaboration. What you are doing, I've seen that you talk together, you talk with your group mates, you talk with somebody, you have your Google Meet also, you have your own Google Meet, then it means that you are answering the the, the pretest, and the pretest is you try to make a Venn diagram. What are the similarities and the similarities of these things? You try to share your activity, and this time probably it's I'm going to hear your presentation about it. That's learner to content, learner to learner, and learner to teacher engagement or collaborate interaction. So that's what I call active learning. Okay. Self-directed learning and self-determined learning. Self-directed learning, I will explain it later. I'm going to big emphasis on these things because self-directed learning is more on the philosophy of constructivism, and self-determined learning is more on the philosophy of connectivism. So behaviorism versus constructivism. Behaviorism is when you this Pablo Thorndike's operant conditioning. Uh, this is stimulus response things that we try to we try to we try to uh, equate the level of human being to the animal. For example, in the Pavlov stimulus response, if you provide a stimulus on a particular dog, so probably the dog will respond to you. If you provide food to the dog and you say sit, if the dog will not sit, so you're not going to provide the food. So somehow there's a stimulus response that's happening. So we try to look into the behavior and put it in the relative to the behavior of an animal. So somehow we have to reconsider our thinking about behaviorism because somehow you cannot change students. Somehow it's a matter of it's a matter of uh, guiding them, facilitating them on their own paths, not our own path, not guiding them because this is the path that they should be taking. At the end of the day, in our life, it's not it's not the path of your parents that you will be following. You have to create your own path. But if we keep on dealing students in a in this concept, that you are the one setting the path of the students, so without considering their paths of learning, so most likely you really go for behaviorism, not in a level of constructivism. Constructivism is in when you allow students to engage on their own learning experiences on how to learn, so they can construct their own meaning of a particular topic or particular lesson. They can construct uh, the way they want it to be, as long as you are there guiding and facilitating the student. Somewhat be careful of the word facilitation, because facilitation, when you say you are just simply allow reporting is not facilitation. The strategy of reporting is not facilitation. You are delegating your task to your student, in which there's a high risk that the student cannot comprehend the whole concept of the topic. So be careful of using the strategy of reporting. So it's not constructivism. Sir, I am just facilitating learning because, oh, try to look at my students. They are now reporting the lesson. Be careful on those things because uh, it's you are delegating your task to your student, not you are not facilitating at all. So I'm sorry to tell you about those things because that's the most thing that's happening even in grad school. In grad school, they just simply give topic and after which they are not facilitating learning. So lessons versus modularity. Lessons is these are the big things, and modularity are the chunking of things. Instructor-led learning pathways is the thing that I'm talking is the way you want your students to be, and learner-led learning lanes. Then lower order thinking skills because higher order thinking skills. I think there's a continuum here. It depends upon the outcomes that you are making. Lower order could be in the sense that it depends upon the outcome. If the outcome is just simply to list down, to apply, that's a lower order thinking skills. But if in the higher order thinking skills, that's analyze, evaluate, and create, make, construct, generate. These are the lower order thinking, the higher order thinking skills. The lower order thinking skills, according to Bloom's taxonomy, that somehow uh, I for myself is really challenging this Bloom's taxonomy, but I cannot get out from the regulation of SHED. Or I don't know if you can also the same thing with you if you cannot get out the regulation of DeepEd that they are trying to implement the Bloom's taxonomy. Uh, the Bloom's taxonomy, the lower order of Bloom's taxonomy, uh, based on the remembering, understanding, and applying. Applying is the highest, the peak point in the lower order thinking skills, and remembering or recalling is the lowest or lower order thinking skills. In the higher order thinking skills, according to Bloom's, is the analyzing, creating, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So surface learning and deep learning. So surface learning is just simply uh, looking into the information, providing information, and trying to cover and to widen the scope of what the student should learn or what the student should get from or get information from teachers or from books or from other modes of uh, sources of learning. Deep learning is somehow more on how you are going to dig deeper on a particular context. It's more on the contextualization that somehow you are going to develop a uh, better uh, environment of uh, digging into the uh, more core part of what the student should be able to learn. Learning protocols versus learning contracts. Learning protocols is sets of instruction that you are going to impose for your students. I'm sorry for that one. So learning contracts are your contract. Have you heard about learning contracts? These are the contracts between you and your students on how to achieve a particular outcome. Designing a syllabus, designing a course guide could be part of could be a tool to use for learning contracts. Okay, in the future. So I think this is your assessment. This is your pre-activity. If you have answered most of here this slide, what is the effect? It means that you are more learner centered. If you are answered in this slide, you are more on teacher centered. If you answer more on this side, on the knowledge side, it means that uh, you are more on outcomes based. If you are going to answer more on this side, it means you are more on input based. I think you have your own answer this time, and I think I have discussed it to you. Maybe as we go along, or as we go along, or in your lesson in your class, how you design your courses. try to look yourself. Are you a teacher-centered or are you a learner-centered? Are you is your base of designing the course is input based or are you outcomes based? So I think that's all. Questions so far with respect to the discussion. Can I ask some feedback from you about questions so far on those items before we are going to transfer to these things? These are just simply your guide as you go along in our lesson, because you might think that you are learner centered, but when we are going to evaluate your courses, your course design, you are more on a teacher centered. So these are the irony of life that somehow in theory you are thinking that you are outcomes based or learner centered, but in practical, in a real action, in a real implementation of the curriculum, still you are hanging up in a teacher centered environment. So these are the somewhat main components that we are going to look into. Am I in a level that I'm just simply providing information, or am I on the level of processing information? Am I on the level that uh, giving input to students or information, or am I on the level of uh, uh, processing that information so that students processing it, converting it into a learning experience, so the students can learn. So these are the things. You might be, as you go along, as we try to look into your activity, you have to go back with this one. You have to go back in this one and try to assess yourselves. Basig mo yung ka ba nga, ay, sa una nag-ingon ko nga learner-centered na ko. Pero when we try to evaluate your course design, my God, I am in the teacher-centered level. So these are the things. Sir, is it bad that you are in the teacher-centered and I am not in the learner-centered? No, it's not. It's not bad, but it's a matter of making a good paradigm shift, because if you try to look at the principle of teaching and learning this time, one of the common principles that we adopted in the outcomes-based education is the work of Jean Biggs and Catherine Tang in the Hong Kong University. So somehow, if you try to look at these things, our common things is that we are the one providing and we are the one providing information to students. But in the concept of Biggs and Tang said that it is not what the teacher does. Again, it is not what the teacher does, but what the students do in the classroom. So therefore, learning resides on the learner, not on the teacher. However, we can also claim that the moment we share our knowledge to our students, we are also learning. So therefore, if you try to look at the environment there, it's not a teacher to learner environment anymore. It's a learner to learner environment. That in that learner-centered environment, teachers are also learners in the classroom. So you try to look at these things, because before mangod, there's no balance of power. Bingon lang ka, nara ka sa tumoy sa akong kuanday, dong, nara ka sa tumoy sa akong ballpen. Kung di ka magtarong, hagbong ka gyud. So that is a concept that's a paradigm that there's a power. Teacher is more powerful than the students. Teacher is more powerful than the learner. That's somewhat we have to change that paradigm. That's the thing that we are doing right now in this course. We have to look into these things, because these things, this is simply two dichotomies. The other side here is more on the teaching dichotomy, no, teaching element, and the other side here is more on the process of learning environment. So in this case, you have to rethink of yourself. You have to rethink that, ako ba as a teacher am I a teacher centered or am I a learner centered teacher? my approach in teaching would be more on learner centered, or my approach in teaching would be a teacher centered. So these are the things. Let me just go through because I have to go to Marina. I have the activity with Marina. I have to stop this one. I have to proceed with another one. Uh, Stop sharing. I send. Have you seen these things? This data, this file. Uh,
Sir, yes.
these are the people who answer these things. What in the teacher made tests? If you try to look into our Google site, there's worksheets. There are teacher made tests. These activities are formative assessments. Okay, these are these activities are essential in your performance task. Try to look at this one. I really keep data on these things and try to analyze these things. I will give you my. I will send my analysis. I will make my analysis on this data, and I will share these things to you next week in our course, in our engagement. And if I can even share it, I will make a PowerPoint, or I'm going to make a matrix or findings of this data, and I'm going to share it in our group chat so that before we have our class, you can have my how I look at this data. Basically, this a good data that I am looking here, and this would be your basis on how far that you have learned from this course, because these questions will be somehow your uh, final examination, and this will be my revalidation examination that I'm going to have an interview with you. So try to look at these things because uh, try to see the difference of what your answer today and after you have taken the course, what changes, or what are the changes of your answers after you have taken the course, because this one is you have not taken inputs already or sharing of ideas from classmates or data from other research articles or from teachers or sharing our knowledge here, but these are your answers today, and try to compare it in your answers in the final examination. I already give you the final examination, and this is the final examination. So uh, try to see the difference. Hala, ing ani ko ni answer kan Sir Cabas before the pretest, and now the answer na ko sa ani nga exact the question. What are the changes of my answer? The changes of your answer means that you have gained knowledge because we were able to use information, and we were able to process the information, and you were able to respond to it and take proper action later. That's what I call infrastructure. So this one is a very, those who were not able to answer, kindly answer those data. And please do not hesitate yourself to present or share it to others, because it might be reading the answer of others will be your another learning. This is now a learner to learner engagement, learner to learner collaboration. So aside from giving you the content, you have your learner to content engagement, you have now a learner to learner engagement. Be careful and beware not to copy the answers of others, because you are not sharing, though there's a mistake in your answer. Probably in design, there's no mistake in design. There's a better way of designing things. So, wala may sayop kung ikaw ang mag-design, kaya imo man ang design. But we can adopt better ways or best practices in designing courses. So, if you are not going to share, you cannot see the beauty of what others are thinking and what you are thinking, and how your thinking will be translated into willing, incorporated with your feeling. So If that is the case, in yourself already, thinking, feeling, and willing, if these actions are aligned, so therefore, it means that you can also see things in a better alignment. Kasi for example, nga ni magod ang tao is na siya hunahuna, na siya feeling, na siya willing. Willing is the action. The tendency is what he or she is thinking is different from the action. And the worst thing is different from his emotion. So it means mayon ka nga mukatawa jud ko ani niya masi kontra ni nako. So ayun ka, o di sa imong hunahuna napungot ka pero ang imong action ni katawa pero wa ka ganahi sa nawong sa imong amiga or kanang imong kauban nga maestra. So that's the misalignment already in ourselves. So the first thing that we want to do is somehow align, because the word things that I keep on telling for everyone in course design is alignment, alignment, alignment. There should be proper alignment of things. So somehow, if you cannot align yourself within yourself, probably the way you project yourself to others is also misaligned. So the way we think, the way we feel, the way we care our students is the same thing is the way how we deliver the lesson to our students. So if these three things are aligned, that makes you more human. There's a question that I posted in my undergrad: what makes man truly human? That's somewhat a very somewhat philosophical question, but the real concept there is just simply the alignment of self and how you consider the face of others. The same thing with us as a teacher in course design. How we consider ourselves, our capabilities in designing courses, and how we are going to consider our diverse learners. So considering yourself and considering the face of others. So that's a good thing. I'm going to give data on these things. I think I share I share this information, what you call this Excel file, so that you can read and try to see the difference of your answers with respect to the answers of your classmates. Then I will going to proceed another one. I'm sorry, I'm really running out of time because I really have to go to that marina thing. So I would before I'm going to left you here, all the things that I've said are somehow uh, try to look at this one. I want you to have this scenario. Uh, the findings of the course monitoring revealed that 90% of the BSED 3 students taking the Proof Ed PSC failed in the course. The dean instructed the chairperson to re-evaluate the course. Sorry. It was found out that students experienced difficulty in designing the course syllabus or their course design as their course outcome. On the other hand, it was found out that teacher was focused in discussing the lessons just to cover everything in the course, which resulted in a slight improvement in the students' learning. Moreover, the teacher asserted that the students hate the course and majority of them failed in all paper and pencil tests. Now the question is, who is to blame, teacher or student? Why? After you have the pre-activity that I have given you, after you answer those questions, the pre-test, try to look at this scenario and try to answer the question. Can I hear answers from the group? Hello, everyone. Can I hear answers from you, please?
Hi, sir.
Yes. Who is this one? Please,
Kit
please.
Adrian Artea, sir.
Okay, Mr. Nartia, sir. What will be your answer? Who is to blame, teacher or student? And tell me why.
I think um, they are both to blame
Okay, both.
because the teacher can be blamed, ask his students or her students of how fast or how um if they have understood the lessons, nagsige ra siya tudlo. And then the
Correct.
learners also is to blame because um, they did not uh, connect with their teacher, that they do not understand the lessons that were given to them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Somewhat, the strategy of the teacher is just simply lecturing, and the students are passive learners. Okay. I think that's the clear thing that's happening in your pre-activity. I can thank you, Sir Arnatia. Can I hear another answer, please? I think we are 18 here, so most likely I can extend my time and try to hear your answers about this.
Okay, kasama.
Yes, Miss. Anybody, please? Do I need to call names? I'm going to call names because can I have Ma'am Donna Mondelo? After that, Ma'am Donna will be Sir Tiri. Okay, Sir Tiri is also here. So, sir, good morning, sir. Okay. Can I ask Ma'am Mondelo to answer this question? Ma'am Mondelo, wala si Ma'am Mondelo. Can I have Ma'am Balundo?
So, sir,
Yes, Miss. Good morning, Ma'am Balundo. Or who is this one? Ma'am Mondelo or Ma'am Balundo? So can I ask now, Sir Terry? Sir Terry, sir, good morning, sir. Okay, what will be who is to blame, sir? Is it the teacher or the students? Why? Sir, ah,
Sir Randy here. Good morning. Can mute, sir. Can mute.
okay, okay.
Okay, sir. Good
Okay. Good
morning.
morning, sir.
So I think there's a problem with the students also because they treated the subject in negative way.
Okay.
They hated the subject.
Okay.
And on the other hand, there's there's also a problem regarding the teacher. It might
Okay.
be the way she or he teach or the strategy that he
Okay.
or she applied.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to hear about it because the strategy, try to look at the strategies this time. It's how is the teacher is simply providing information or giving information, or the teacher is converting or using information to have a good learning experience. So that's a question that we are trying to look into this. But if you try to look at this one, the teacher is just simply covering all the topics, just simply. Am I right, Sir Terry? Is it the point that you are trying to assert?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The strategy of teacher is just simply lecturing. Okay. Providing information, lecturing. So I was just going to emphasize this lecture thing. Uh, I am lecturing right now is because this is my specialization on my core in my doctorate degree and my even in my undergrad. I'm lecturing because I'm in the education, and my major my emphasis is I'm taking up doctor in philosophy in education, major in curriculum and instruction. So I'm lecturing right now. Right now I'm lecturing to you because my specialization is more on the curriculum and instruction. If you try to look at this example, this is not found in your book. This is developed by I am the one who developed this scenario because I can. This is my somewhat. I claim it as my expertise. This is my resume. This is the thing that I'm doing. This is the thing that I'm doing in the university. This is the thing that I'm doing as a quality assurance director in the university, setting all this uh, activity. and designing courses in the university. So it means that from my theory and practice, it's my it's my deep learning. It's not my surface learning. So therefore, lecture could be done this way. It could be the strategy of lecture is okay. If you are an expert on a particular topic, you can do lecture. But if you just simply copy the topic or the topics in the book, do not lecture. Kung nangopya lang ka sa kanang mga topic sa libro nga gihimo sa laing tawo, please do not apply lecture as a strategy in teaching. Make sure that if you are lecturing, you are an expert of that particular topic. So that's a good thing to hear, sir. And the other one is students hate the course. Somehow, para ba siya, wala siya sense of engaging the learning environment. So somehow the interest of students is not on the level of high engagement because they hate the course. So that's a good answer, sir. Okay. Can I hear another answer? I can have this, Sir Kapuras. Sir, what is your answer on this thing?
Sir?
Maybe, sir, the professor is not directly giving clear instruction to the students. Um, Maybe the strategy was it is not effective because so dapat the instructor is giving some examples in this activity so that the students or the learner must have the idea on how to make that one, sir.
Okay. Then who is to blame this time?
The teacher, sir, for me.
The teacher. Yeah. Okay, the teacher for you. So you focus on the strategy. Then the next question that you are going to ask, what would be the right strategy then? Because there are so many strategies, there are so many teaching and learning strategies. So how are we going to find that strategy that it will fit to that environment? So if you are going to make a course design, try to think if my strategy align to the outcome. In this case, try to look at the outcome here. The outcome here, the teacher wants their students or her or his students to design, right? To design something, to design a course syllabus. So it means design. The verb there is design. And what
Yes,
the
sir.
teacher does, or what the teacher did, rather, just simply teaching the subject, covering everything, giving information.
Yes, sir.
The teacher, the strategy of the teacher is just simply lecturing. The teacher do not have strategy in providing experiences, learning experiences. Diba? Are you giving information or are you converting information into a learning experiences? So the teacher did not provide learning experiences so that students can design.
Design, sir.
Okay. So that's the thing. Thank you for that, sir. Sir Kaporas. Sige. Okay. I think I've heard Ma'am Lani Labong. Ma'am Lani Labong, can I hear your answer, please?
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
duha mi diri sir ni Ma'am Amalia Montuerto, so kaming duha mo tubag.
Okay, very good, very good. That's okay.
Okay, sir. So for me, the one to be blamed is the teacher.
The teacher. Okay.
Yes, because he or she is just keep on discussing. He did not provide any activity that will engage the students. For example, kind of mga group activities, practical activity in which the experience or the learning experience of the students will become meaningful. Kaya kung meaningful siya, dili ko siya makalimtan sa estudyante.
Okay. 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 That's a
Yes,
good thing.
sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good thing to hear. I would like to emphasize is the strategy of the teacher did not provide meaningful experience to the learner. That's the thing that I'm learning today. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Is it that That is your point. Okay, that's a good point to
Yes,
hear.
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am Amalia, sir. She will
Sir.
share.
Okay,
Sir.
okay. Yes, ma'am. Good morning
I
po.
am I am Amalia Montuerto, sir, teaching dressmaking, TLE dressmaking.
Yes, ma'am. That's
So
a
in
very good thing.
connection to teaching strategy, in connection to teaching strategy, sir, I think I met difficulty in disseminating, in giving learning and imparting knowledge to my student, because right now we are using the what is this, the modular instruction,
Yes po.
the module,
Yes po.
then based on our MELC.
Yes po.
Then in the MELC, one of the learning competency is to drop pattern, blouse
Yes po.
pattern.
Yes po.
Then
Design.
I am the pattern design. Then in my module I prepare the strategy, the procedure on how to drop pattern. But
Yes po.
because of the pandemic, sir, I cannot explain further, because the best strategy for that is the teaching and demonstration teaching.
Yes po.
After demonstrating, then after showing to the student, there is transfer of learning, because the student will follow what I am demonstrating.
Yes po.
But because of the pandemic, it I think I am also to be blamed. I cannot blame my student, because
Okay.
the problem there is the disseminating information to my student in order to learn.
Yes po. Okay. Thank you to hear about it, ma'am. Yes, it's
Oh,
really true, especially
sir.
in this especially when your subject is more on performance tasks, like the one is this dressmaking,
Oh,
the way you design. But what I can suggest to you, mom, is you can also make you allow your daughter or your son to take video on how to make that pattern, and you share that one to your students in a group in a group chat.
oh,
Oh,
sir, it is applicable, sir, to an area which is accessible to signal.
okay.
Mostly in our place here in Kawayan, sir, nga, there are places nga
Walang
signal
yung
is not
signal.
stable.
Okay. You can use
Mm.
also, ma'am. You can use also. You can ask your one is you can ask your head, your teacher, your head that you can have the portal. You can have their USB. They don't need to use the signal. You just save that. You just save that file. Or once they are going to ask the module from you, they are going to bring a USB. Then they are going to
Mm.
copy it, or you can share it in your cell phone when they are going to ask your module. Pwede na dili offline, ma'am. Share it lang, Bluetooth or other means that you can share the file to your students, not using internet, using offline. That could be good that you are going taking video. But the challenge also is on the part of the teacher. Is the teacher is really good in taking videos or making videos, so that also students can also follow and can see the video, and probably without the presence of the teacher, your students can still make those design, those katong imong himuon nga kanang sana forma sa kanang sa mga dresses ang ana pwede unta no.
Drafting of pattern.
Drafting of patterns, so
Oo, lagi
most,
sa sir.
pero ma'am, that could pwede man gyapon siya nga strategy. What I'm now trying to look into is your capabilities also in making video, because we are being, I don't know if you have clear training on how to make
Sir,
that video.
problema.
Oh, that's another thing. So that's the thing that we have to consider. That's the answer that I'm trying to look into, the
Oo.
flexibility versus adaptability.
Oo.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
di ba?
Muna, the main answer, sir, I'm going to blame myself due to the
Sige ma'am. Later we are going to make a
Oo.
generalization on these things. Now try to look at the environment now. Yung
sige,
kano
sir.
nga nag-module, wala ta nag face to face, we try to become more
Mm-mm.
flexible by using module.
Mm-mm.
However, even though you are using module, still you cannot achieve the outcome because students cannot adapt the system
Oo.
in terms of your
Ila
course,
lang ka po.
your specific. Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Most likely,
Mhm.
on the other side also, the teacher has no system at all that probably
Oo.
that he or she can adapt also. Oh, so say for example,
Yun.
you're training in making videos.
Oo.
Yes, that's the challenge that we are heading right now. So most
Yes.
likely these are
I am not.
the good. Yes, ma'am. Proceed po, ma'am.
Oh. Like myself, sir, I am not computer literate. I
So yes,
only little knowledge.
okay. So these are the challenges that we are really trying to
Mm-mm.
look into. So it's not just
Mm-mm.
simply on the flexibility of things, but try also to deal on the adaptability of the system that that we are doing right now. Yeah, sa side po sa bata, lisod po niya pagbasa sa module, yeah, paghimo sa mga pattern, kung wala po yung mga ginikanan nga mo assess sa iya.
Oo.
So that's another challenge.
Oo.
So it's another sense of no flexible na ta, flexible ta, pero dili ta ka-adapt sa sistema dayon-dayon. So it needs time to it becomes a challenge for us. So most likely these are the things that we are going to consider in course design. Thank you for that
Mhm.
answer, ma'am. That's a good experience. That's a
Oh,
real
ayun.
experience. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate all
Sige,
those things.
sir.
Okay. Kinsa pa laing mo share? I need 3 more before I go. Can I have who is
Hi,
the
sir.
who is the one?
Hi, sir.
Yes, who is this one, please?
Dora
sir.
Durinsky.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This is Genevieve, sir.
Who is the one? Is Dorilyn or Miss Genevieve?
Oh,
Who will answer? Miss Genevieve, ma'am. Who is this Windows 10?
Genevieve, sir.
Si Ma'am Genevieve. After which is after Ma'am Genevieve will be Ma'am Dorilyn. Would it be okay, Ma'am Dorilyn?
Yes, sir. It's okay.
Sige po.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to Ma'am Genevieve first.
Sir, for me, sir, siguro, sir, both, siguro, I will go as a teacher because as a teacher, sir, we must know muna our student, their learning style. Nang sa ganun, we can go deeper kung sino nga ning strategy ang atong gamiton.
Okay.
We can start to the point kung asa sila dapita. So, kita mo yung go down.
Yes po.
Then siguro since in my case I am handling grade 9, so mas maayo or bisag kinsa nga ni mas maayo ang 4A's nga strategy.
Okay.
Then kung magpampagin sir siguro in that case wala gyud na niya gi kuag maayo ang iyang pagtulo because pwede man to siya mag-I do siya, mag-we do, then you do. Ipakita
Yes,
usa niya kung nga ni ang process.
Yes po.
Base madali nga mantiguhan. So it will be very easy for the students to learn and to catch up the topic.
Okay. I think you are now, Ma'am, I think your point of view is more on the strategy of the teacher, that the strategy of the teacher is not correct.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because that is, it should be there is a hands-on activity and she will be the one first to discuss na siya ipakita nga sample, for example, basin madali para sa mga bata. A guided, for example.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that answer. Also, this it's more on the strategy. Yes, it's clear in the strategy that there's something wrong with the strategy. Oh, can I hear now to Ma'am Dorilyn?
Hi, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning po.
So for me, sir, I agree with my classmates that it is the teacher to blame because in this kind of situation, there's already 90% of students who failed in the course. So I
Okay.
think it's on the strategy also of the teacher, sir. So for me, I think the strategy of the teacher, it should be, I think for me, sir, if this happens, I think I will be using the philosophy of education, just like what you have said earlier, which is on the constructivism,
Okay.
sir. Because in this kind of philosophy, students will be more on active. Students will be an active learner, not just a passive learner.
Okay.
But now we are, but now we are already in this situation, which is pandemic. So we have to be flexible in designing our course. We have to know the students, their interests, their needs, so that we can make strategy which is fit to their situation or to their interest.
Okay po. Okay, that's a good thing also want to hear about it. It's more on the strategy of the teacher. Again, that's the right thing to do.
Yes, sir.
Try to look at this
Mhm.
one. If try to look at this one. It's teacher made test versus performance task. That's the thing that I'm asking you there in your pre activity. teacher-made test versus performance task. Try to look at the verb, try to look at the outcome that the teacher wants. The teacher wants their students to design something. The verb there is design. So if we are going to assess your students in terms of paper and pencil test, so that was most likely a multiple choice test or open-ended questions, or it could be an essay test. So it's a paper and pencil test. Do you think if the students got perfect or get perfect in your examination, you can claim that students can design? Can you claim about it? So for me, it's a there's a somehow there's a gray area in this context, because imong gusto sa imong bata is mag-design on something. Pareho kang ma'am, mag-design og pattern, mag-draft og pattern sa sinina. At the end of the day, ang iyang question dito sa iyang module, ang multiple choice test. So dili niya dapat ipasubmit niya ang design, not the multiple choice test. Most of us, we really focus on the score. Now, we are really focused on the score, and yung ka nga, maayo gud siya nga bata. We are not really focused on the performance of the students learning. So, mo na siya challenge na to karon in our course design that somehow, if ang bata ma-perfect sa 100 items nga paper pencil test, does it mean that the students is expert in designing courses or designing
sir.
okay, no. So
No.
somehow that's the context that I'm learning from you right now, ma'am. Can I have Mr. Obal? Sir Obal? Sir Obal is present? Is Sir Obal present?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Let's try to look into those are the deep ed and the primary and the secondary context. Let's try to also to hear it in the tertiary context. Can I hear to Mr. Obal how you are going to answer the scenario?
Okay, sir. For me, sir, again, it is a teacher who is to
Teacher.
blame.
Yes, sir.
Of course, sir. I believe, sir, if because of course, sir, it's really on the strategy of the teacher, sir, how he or she
Strategy.
handle the situation. Of course, sir, because again, sir, it's 90%, and it's not an excuse that the teacher will tell nga hate ng course sa bata. Of course, it's not an excuse. Of course, teacher should make and find a way na ang bata should love the course. Sa
Okay,
ganun
very
po
good.
yan, sir. Again po, it is teacher who is to blame in this situation. That
Okay.
is for me, sir. It's
Okay,
in strategy, sir.
Okay, thank you. I have to end asking question and feedback from you. I'm going to give my synthesis of your answers this time. So before I go, because it's already 9:23 and I have to be there in the hostel. They are now chatting me that I have to be present there. So I'm telling them that I'm still in the class. So I'm going to give my synthesis here. Try to look at this scenario. The scenario, the teacher wants the students to design a course syllabus. Try to look at the verb, design. The teacher wants her or his students to design a course. So the verb, design. The strategy of the teacher is more on covering everything. So it's lecture. And the teacher is assessing the students in terms of paper and pencil test. So if you are going to ask me, who is to blame, I will tell you that I do not blame the teachers or the teacher, and I do not blame also the students. Before I'm going to proceed my justification, I want to hear feedback on that answer that I had given from you. Please give me feedback. In your answer said that I blame the teacher. I blame the some of your answers said that I blame the teacher, both the teacher and the students. So, but my answer is I did not blame them. So before I'm going to give my justification, give me your feedback about it.
Yes, sir. I think, sir, is correct, sir.
Nga
That
naman, Santi.
teachers or
Ako
students
nag-answer.
is not to blame.
Okay. Teacher not to blame and the students not to blame because I'm the one answering this one. So it's because I'm the one giving the lesson. No, it's not. So try to think of it. So no, have you tried to get out from the box and try to think? Bitaw no, dili man day pwede ma-blame si teacher, di po day ma-blame si student. Kinsa man day atong i-blame? Kinsa man day atong i-blame? We are not going to
System,
blame
sir.
the system. The system.
Curriculum, sir.
The curriculum. Okay. We are not going to blame the teacher nor blame the students, but we are going to blame for lack of alignment. Feedback. Lack of alignment. Why? Ang gusto sa maestra is to design. Diba? Design is a performance task. Right? Pero iyang gi-assess ang bata in terms of paper pencil test. Do you think kung ma-perfect siya ani nga test, master na siya mo design og pattern? Master na siya mo design og syllabus? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No,
Yes. Okay. Now, all of you got correct in answering the strategy of the teacher. Yes, there's something wrong with respect to the strategy of the teacher because the strategy of the teacher is also not aligned to the verb design. The verb there is design. So therefore, as a strategy, you should find a strategy that will allow or that will provide learning experiences to design that pattern or to design that course syllabus. So that is something wrong also. So therefore, it's not to blame the teacher, it's not to blame the students, but try to consider the lack of alignment. It's really happening in our course design. Try to review your course design. Try to look at the competency. If the competency is something that is performance task, there should be proper assessment on the performance task. Then if the no, if the outcome is designing, then the strategy should be on a level that you allow learning experiences leading to design, not just simply covering the lesson, not just simply presenting the lesson. I have this example of kanibitang karate. Oh, kaning karate. Nay karate, judo, ana, mga ana siya nga example. Dapat performance-based good siya. Or even dancing sa PE. So, performance-based good siya. Even in English, writing. So, ikaw, sige lang kag lecture, without giving students the learning experience to write something. So, therefore, at the end of the day, you will not achieve your outcome or the competency of writing because you did not provide learning experiences that will allow students to write something leading in achieving such outcome. And you assess students in terms of multiple choice test in which you just simply gather the score rather than try to look at the piece of writing of that students and try to see the organization, the grammar, and the concept of its writing. So, di ba? That's the nature of what we are trying to implement here in our course design. So the first thing that you must learn today and in this class today, one is the shifting of your paradigm, the shifting of your thinking about reality in designing courses. You should try to shift from teaching paradigm to a learning paradigm. And the second thing that I will leave you today as a getaway, as a getaway from or something to ponder in this class today is the term alignment. Alignment. So there should be proper alignment in terms of competencies in DepEd level with respect to the teaching activities and learning activities of students, and there should be also alignment of the assessment with respect to those competencies. In the higher education also, the same thing that I'm going to tell, that there should be alignment of the teaching learning activities and assessment tasks with respect to the outcome. In this scenario that we are presenting here, the outcome is design, but that strategy is lecture, and the assessment is paper pencil test. If you try to see the alignment, there is no alignment in designing the course. So I think that's all I can justify on my answer in this type of scenario. I hope you have learned something today, and hope to hear feedback also from you about this one, and try to look it in your real experience. If ikaw sad ba nabagyo yung mga misalignment and what's happening in your course that you are handling today. Sir Obal, I think you have your time next week because I'm still struggling with the Marina people. So thank you for coming in this class. Can I have a group picture with you?
Sure.
Okay.
No problem, sir.
Okay. Okay. I think you have learned something today, and thank you for your time. That's something that we have to consider. So the paradigm shift, change your paradigm to from teaching to learning. Then the second one is alignment of things. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. There are people, circuits, Ma'am Mundelo, please. Windows, okay, Sir Ampong. Try to do this. Okay. My God, di na sila sa hostel. My God. Okay. Let's call it a day. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, welcome po.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.